And we are live.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is 5:33 p.m. on June 17th. Apologies for starting late. We've run into some little conflicting schedules here, and this is going to be an abridged meeting due to the fact that many of us have previous engagements shortly after this meeting. So we're going to move pretty quickly today. I have the agenda up on the screen. You guys can see it, right? Awesome. So the first thing up is, let's see here. The first thing up is review and approval of minutes from the last meeting. I have those as well. Let me share them on the screen. So believe it or not, our last meeting was on April 15th because our May meeting, we had some resource constraints, and then our June meeting, we had conflicts with other meetings. So that's why we ended up on June 17th. So April 15th, this is the last meeting we had officially. I'm going to have an abridged summary today. Long and short participants, okay, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Warner, Mr. Ragudio, Ms. Cardi, Mr. Rendon, myself, Ms. Darden Cintrone, and Mr. Laser Alert. Our first action that evening was review and approval of the minutes from the last meeting. That was unanimously approved. We then did a quick status check on the data privacy policy and the Parents' Bill of Rights. At that time, it was still with the lawyers being reviewed, and it had to go to the board for approval. From then on, we had a conversation with an update from Mr. Laserler and Mr. Dean Parker on the safety and security update. We went into, I guess, what I will call non-public session, because people have told me that private session, they get a little nervous when they hear those words. So it was closed session, I guess, is a better word for it.
Closed session, yeah.
And we just discussed locations of cameras, et cetera. Then we came back out. From then on, we had a status update on the instructional technology provided by Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Rendon, talking about professional development with Nearpod, as well as data analysis with the iReady data that our administration was collecting. Mr. Ramirez went on to tell us about lessons that the teachers are creating and the students interacting with the content, and how we're using those new applications. Mr. Rendon gave us an update on the status of the iReady assessments, as well as some additional context on the Nearpod and an update on the iReady end of year assessment process as well. I raised the question on are teachers training the students on how to use Nearpod? Mr. Rendon answered that question. Ms. Darden Cintrone inquired if students can see, if there's a way to tell how they're progressing. Mr. Ramirez clarified that they can see what they're doing. There is like a path. And then I raised the question if there were any questions from the younger students with learning how to use Nearpod and how the whole thing functions. At the time, we had not received any reports from teachers or students of needing further assistance. Mr. Ramirez reviewed software titles. He said that will be taking place mid-May to evaluate resources for next school year. There was a brief conversation on the Windows 10 Pro upgrades, and long and short, basically, there was a exercise to go around and see if there was anything older than Windows 10 that needed to be upgraded, as well as what the plan would be to go ahead and do that. From there, we had an update on the Chromebook troubleshooting and repairs, as well as the great, I guess I will call it, moment in time where we had no longer any wait list for the students. All the devices had been addressed, which is great. As well as the process that we're still going through and how we're repairing. We had a brief conversation on the cards that the Chromebooks were on, the loaner cards, and if there were any plans to sanitize them. We really hadn't needed to use them, so that was going to be reviewed. We then had a conversation on central registration procedures and a brief summary of how that's happening, how we're analyzing our process, and how we're trying to improve it, as well as multiple languages on the roadmap. From there, we talked about the information security implementation that's going on, at all the steps that are being taken, as well as Mr. Warner gave us a brief update on the ECP facilities, the short-term plan, and the high-level view on the long-term plan. We talked about the Woodlands Middle High School security vestibule and the funding that goes along with that. We moved into closed session, and then I believe we adjourned at 7:45 p.m. Does anybody have any questions on those minutes? Yes, Mr. Warner.
So my only comment is I'd like you to just shoot this draft over to Ivy to make sure that the verbiage is correct for the closed session pieces. It's probably student safety under open meetings law. So just make sure that's in there, and otherwise I'm good.
Okay, awesome. So with that said, is there a motion to approve the amended meeting minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aye.
First you say second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Perfect, aye.
Yeah,
All right,
second and I-
approved.
Good,
Thank
good.
you. All right, moving on to item number 2, data privacy policy and parents' bill of rights, NYSED compliance. Our board president was going to give an update. She's not available for this meeting, but we did have a discussion on this. And Miss DeAndrea, okay. We did have a discussion on this, and we did, David, if I remember correctly, we actually approved it Tuesday, right?
Yes, we did discuss it.
Yeah. I thought we approved the actual policy though.
I have to
Maybe-
double check to see, because there were two lists. One was the list of stuff that you put up and it sits there for a month, and the other was the list of stuff that you have approved because it's been sitting there for a month. And I don't remember which list it was in.
I
Okay,
believe that what you have is the first reading,
Okay,
probably. And now you are gonna go to the final approval.
okay. So hopefully.
Normally,
that'll-
that's the sequence, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll happen soon, but the point is it's moving along, so we're almost there.
yes, yes.
Perfect. Item number 3, information security GCSD phishing campaign. I will let Mr. Ramirez start that conversation.
Yes, well, the full team was involved on this, and I wanted to report to the committee that we completed this first successful phishing campaign in Greenburgh, and it was through these 10 days between the 4th of June and the 13th. We actually have multiple
Mr.
interactions. Yes. Yes.
Sorry, time out.
Yeah.
Do we want to address that item and the cameras under
Oh, the
Um,
closed session.
closed session?
Yeah.
Simply because of the nature of the data and so forth?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. In terms of the phishing campaign, the only thing that we are releasing to the public is that there was a campaign conducted in the district to be sure that we have a level of awareness and we're in compliance with the current Ed Law 2D and the provisions for school districts to have this type of training for employees and staff. If Mr. Pinedo, you want to put a proposal to go into closed session, we can go into the details of the actual results.
Yeah, so I think, why don't we do this? Why don't we go on with all the public related facing stuff since we're short on time? And
Sure.
then we can go into closed session at the end.
Not a problem. Okay, so then we will have item 3 and 4 for closed session for obvious reasons. And number 5, I'm happy to report to the committee that we actually had our superintendent certify and submit the SSIP, which is the Smart Schools Investment Plan for the vestibule at Woodlands on June 10. And right now I received confirmation from SED that is under review. And the time frame is about 3 to 4 weeks for a final review and put it on the table for the approval for the funding. Now, we have a couple of next steps that we discussed with Lisa and Raymond this morning. One of those is actually working with the facilities planning office at SED. So 2 different offices. They need to confirm that we don't need a special permits, anything specific for the project. Since it's a very small project, we apply for a streamlined review. We're waiting on responses from the state, but I believe that the time frame of saying 3-4 weeks is a realistic time frame. So we should have some news probably by the end of the month or next month, midway. I will keep you updated on the results. Everything has been completed. All the work with the architects and doing the updates for the cost, the pricing and everything is done. So I'm happy to report that that is completed.
Excellent.
move
news.
to-
Thank you very
Good,
much.
good.
You're very welcome. As promised. You want to go to item number 6, because I know that there are 2 items in there, and actually we invite Lori DeAndrea and Diego Rendon. Some of the updates that we need to post on our websites, and they are just released today, is the summer reading and the academic resources for the students.
Mhm.
And I will turn to Diego and Lori to kind of go through the actual page and show what we are bringing to the public and to our students as resources for this summer. Diego, Lori?
Sure. If I, actually, who's screen sharing?
I am, but do you want to drive? You want me to let you share? Or
No,
do you-
if you actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay,
if
so
you don't
let me
mind.
stop sharing real quick. Okay, and then you should be able to share.
Right. Which one am I?
I just enabled you,
Where
Diego.
did it go?
You're enabled now.
Hold
Go
on
ahead.
a second. Hold
Co-host.
on, I gotta pick my my right screen here. There we go. 3. Okay. So I go one step back. This is actually live on the district website. So what we have now is the summer reading announcement, and basically what it is it's a collaborative effort that was achieved by all the different buildings, the reading specialists, the LMS, the library media specialists, and Lori and myself. And so basically what we're doing here is we are linking resources for our students using Sora, which is ebooks, and JLG Digital, which is another platform for ebooks. Each building has a set of resources depending on their grades. As you can see, extensive amount of resources available. And so obviously continuing with the mindset of, the Chromebook access and remote access, a lot of these resources can be accessed via those devices. Everything is grade specific, translated as well into Spanish, and quite an extensive list of resources, as you can see in there. Just kind of scrolling through quickly here. Same thing.
So now what's
lot
the
of
summer
activities.
availability of Chromebooks and all that? How does that work?
Sure. Okay, great, Carlos.
Yeah, well, just quick, all the Chromebooks are available to the students. They are taking those Chromebooks. We have a true one-to-one program, so they keeping the Chromebooks for the summer. Only those devices that needed repairs or upgrades are being dropped at the technology office at the high school for maintenance, and they will be returned to those students. The only Chromebooks that we are collecting back is from our graduating class, the 12th graders leaving the school, and the pre-kindergarteners that are finishing pre-kindergarten and moving into kindergarten, because there's a different device. Remember, pre-kindergarteners have touch screens, tablets, and kindergarteners get an actual Chromebook with the keyboard so they can start developing those skills. So these pages are available for any mobile device. They will be viewable and accessible either on a tablet or in a Chromebook or in a regular computer, desktop computer at home. We'll turn to Diego to continue. And I also want Lori to kind of go a little bit in detail about the middle grades, because I know that the resources will work out with the teachers, but there is always some demands as you go into the higher grades.
So before we do that, a quick question. I saw that we have this in English and Spanish through Google Translate. Are we planning on adding other languages for any other folks that are speaking different languages through Google Translate?
So Google Translate has the ability to translate to multiple languages. Using Google Sites provides with that flexibility. We haven't enabled that fully because initially the district wanted to offer only the 2 languages as resources. But if it's a recommendation of this committee, we can start working on the, using the full implementation of Google Translate associated with the Google Sites. It's part of the process that we are following on changing our website. I know you remember that our current platform doesn't support fully Google Sites. We link to Google Sites. But when we translate this into Google Sites being our main platform, it definitely opens the door for other functionalities like translation on the spot.
Okay, so I think we should make it a recommendation. Is anybody opposed to that?
I am not opposed to that.
Okay, so then what I'll do is, as part of our meeting minutes review for the BOE, we'll make that a
Mhm.
recommendation and see what the BOE feels.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm taking the note, no problem. Continue, Diego.
So where was I? Oh, I was at Richard Bailey. Again, quite an extensive array of resources curated by, in this case, the LMS at Bailey, in conjunction with the entire reading team. As you can see, we're linking to the local library as well, which they offer an extensive amount of resources as well. So why reinvent the wheel? Just kind of link to their resources. They do a phenomenal job of putting things together. And then moving up to middle school, again, we are using, relying on this app, Sora, to provide ebook access to students. During this past year, we relied heavily on it for class sets. So for the upper grades where, they have to read X amount of books as part of their curriculum, this was the platform that we used. We were basically renting ebooks for a period of time that allowed teachers to use those resources across the ELA curriculum. Same thing goes for 9 through 12, working with Dr. Palmer at the high school. A lot of resources, again, have been put together with their expertise, recommendations, married to a librarian, I know what that looks like. So this is all the stuff that obviously they've put together. And for the upper grades, we actually, there was a survey done with the students where they were able to pick the book that they wanted to read. And so what we did is that we assigned that particular book based on the selection. It was a bit of work, but students had an option. So hopefully there will be a higher grade of reading engagement because of that, right? It's not just here's a list, pick a book. We kind of narrowed down the availability and the options, and they picked one, and that's what they were assigned. So we're hoping that gives back some good results and that the kids actually read it. We'll be able to get some metrics, what percentage of kids actually read and so forth, because you can see that on the back end of the platform. As part of the Sora, and I want to point this out as well, even though it's under reading here, as part of the Sora subscription, we're able to link via cross libraries. So we have our own service as a district, and our own catalog, if you will. And then we kind of piggyback of the Southern Westchester BOCES consortium catalog, which expands the selection of ebooks available. And we're also linked to the WLS, which is the library system, which also has their own catalog and availability. And also you can link this to the New York Public Library and have access to their catalog. So the more catalogs you add, the more access to content there is. Obviously, it's all age appropriate. It's not just the entire catalog. It's ebooks within the grades and assigned in the system. So that's a big plus of this particular platform, that it allows us to have such a broad range of content available for the students. Ms. DeAndrea,
Good.
would you like
Sorry?
to add anything else to that?
I think you did a fabulous job explaining the whole process. I just want to, it was definitely a collaborative effort with the principals, Dr. Reynolds, and all of the teachers. I met with each PLC. We discussed how each grade wanted to proceed with summer reading, and that's how the pages were designed. So this was all done in a collaborative way. And we originally, this idea came about of putting it on the website in this way, because in the past we had always put out brochures or pamphlets or printings and mailings that we would send home, but we thought this was a better way to for families to have better access to the summer reading resources, all in one spot. So that was how this all came about, and everybody has been super satisfied with the final result.
No, it looks great. Thank you for that update. One question. In the past, as you mentioned, Ms. DeAndre, we would send out, packets, and we'd kind of send the kids on their way home with the list, right? A rough list.
Right.
How are we doing that this year? Are we sending out are the principal sending out an email, or what's the plan so that we make sure families are clear?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we did was we had teachers walk kids through, because part of SORA, part of the SORA platform, you have to add those library systems manually. So we didn't want kids to go home and have to figure out how to do that. Although Diego did make a video, we embedded that video on the website for any kids that might have missed it. And I think there's very few. We had teachers in class show the students the website, show them where it is in every single grade, and had them add those library systems to their SORA accounts. So that was all set up. I know that in the high school, every single teacher, every single ELA teacher met with their classes, and they went through the assignments and what the expectations were. Same within the middle school. So I think that, this should really work.
Thank you.
Another thing that is important to note on this is that due to the pandemic and the remote learning, all of these change. So now our staff, our teachers, and with the collaboration that Lori and Diego led with the curriculum instruction team, they were empowered to use tools online. Remember, when we were in person, that wasn't really the necessity. You had the option to do things in the classroom, and now we move into e-learning, and that is to stay, because it's always accessible, it's always available, and those are resources that can be shared easily. Right now, a quick email from the principals will sharing this link will provide with the access for all the families and their children to these resources. And also the training that Lori and Diego conducted under the guidance and direction from Dr. Reynolds. So this is all good. This is part of the process of becoming an e-learning process and empowering our teachers and staff to do it.
The principals are also going to be sending out phone blasts just to explain all of this to families. And today, the PLC leader in the high school actually put together a letter. So that's going to go out as well for the middle school and the high school.
Yeah, if you can push something to them electronically that prompts them, hey, this thing is here. So if
right. And a lot of the younger grades use the Remind app. Okay. So I sent them the link today and I said, please send this out as well. Add it into any of your final. So I tried to get everybody engaged in sending out the information. So it'll go in a telephone blast from the principal. The teachers will send it out in whichever way they communicate with families. And and it's going to be on the homepage of every school website and the Greenburgh website, which I think is important because sometimes it's hard to find these things when they're embedded in other tabs.
Mm-hmm. Or when you got a blast, like 2 months ago and you're trying
right, and you can't remember.
The main website is beautiful for that.
Yeah, so I said to Laser, make sure you put it like right in the front.
Awesome,
yeah.
Thank you.
But if you have any other suggestions, please, this is our first time around with doing something like this, but I do think it's going to work.
Mm-hmm. Looks great. Thank you.
The pandemic.
I guess the best word to define the work is work in progress. And we're progressing on this every day. every day. Thank you, everyone. The next item is about the website. I know that Mr. Pineda, you wanted to have this item between you and me. We're open to actually receive the recommendations from the committee, because I know that we start working on doing a grace to our website, making it more accessible. We are in full compliance with ADA and everything, but that's not what we probably are looking for. We're looking more to make these resources available to everybody and have the website as a vehicle to communicate with our community and our students efficiently and in a timely manner. Because in the past there was too many items in the middle to actually provide for this access, and we experienced this. We release communications, we release meeting notes, and meeting minutes, and it takes time to get there. But now we are kind of making all of this a more expedited process. Our goal is to actually adopt Google Sites as the vehicle for everything, because it's more flexible and provides for more functionality. We're working on it. Any other from the committee, any other feedback or additional items that you would like to bring?
So does this then mean that each committee would have its own page and access? So Ashley or you could go and update things individually instead of funneling everything through the staff?
The advantage of this, well, we have designated staff to support the work of the board.
Mhm.
And what I'm planning on doing is I'm evaluating, and this is feedback for me to make those decisions for next year, right? So I want to have not only one person dedicated to the support, but I want to have a backup. You see today what happened. We have Neil Ragudio here doing the work that Laser normally does, but Laser is only one person. So we want to be sure that our team are empowered to access, provide with the support, and everybody can actually benefit from that. And also the ability to do access levels in the website, which is part of the conversation that I have with my team.
Mhm.
We will enable the schools to actually provide, with access so they can actually populate their own pages.
Okay.
The board committees, you can have that access so you can actually populate that through a Google Doc sharing or a Google Sheets sharing. So in that way, you have what you always ask for, a dashboard that can be updated immediately so people get information in real time.
Mhm.
And all of these is good feedback that we're getting from this committee, and we are implementing as we speak. I don't know if there is anything else, Mr. Pineda.
I had one more thing. So the other thing we have to keep in mind is that the leadership of our district will be changing very soon. And I think it would be a good idea if effective July 1st, we update our website accordingly, right? So there's no confusion as to who to contact or anything along those lines. So we don't have to go into depth about that conversation right now. But the point is, we do need to make sure our website is updated in a timely fashion so that there's no confusion.
And July 20th as well.
Correct.
Absolutely. And I understand exactly what kind of information should be released at each one of the times. There are changes that need to be reflected in there.
Correct.
Okay.
So that was the only other thing I had on the agenda, other than going back to talk about the closed session type topics. Is there anything else that we need to chat about here while we have the public's attention?
We have to come out at the end and
Yeah,
adjourn the
Yes.
meeting.
we'll come out and formally close the meeting. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing else we needed to share. It looks like we're good though. All right, so with that said, is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss some results of security initiatives that are more confidential?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any abstentions? No? Okay, all right. Let's go ahead. Mr. Ragudi.